situation in China. Okay, now she also has the students do self-evaluation. And I've never met this fellow. He's now studying in the U.S. He's in the PhD program in psychology. But you can see when he does his self-evaluation, he kind of follows the rubric pretty closely. And these students are always too hard on themselves when they do the self-evaluation. He's upset because he feels his particular references are a little bit out of date. Now, myself, I feel that's beside the point. But a lot of the Chinese students feel that all their references must be within the last year or two, and she has to fight that tendency. Because if you look at the references, and they're in his paper, you know, many of them are back in the 90s, etc. But why not? That's fine. So he feels the credibility is a little bit low because some of them are out of date. Now, when we first started this, when I went to China in the 90s, I had this vision, because at that point the internet was largely in English. So I had this vision that the students could learn a lot of English by being on the internet. Of course, the internet has exploded in China, and there are many more websites in Chinese than in English now. And so many, even when he did this, I think this particular research topic was done in about 2004 or 5, or maybe 2006. Already he's actually doing a lot of Chinese as well as English. And even many of the websites that are in English have automatic translation into Chinese. Even though in looking at those, I find they're very not great. These automatic translation processes aren't very, very good. But when it came to evaluating his clarity, you know, he feels he did a good job on clarity, and I would agree with him. And again, she had encouraged him to use graphics, tables, and figures to illustrate things. And he built very good tables and a very good flow chart that represents how the use of a moral dilemma story should take place in the classroom. And then in the last section, again, I think he felt he did a good job in that area. When using material from other researchers, I try to put them into my own frame. And you do see him struggling to make sense out of this for the Chinese context, which I think is good. And also he feels he came up with a new idea, which he did. I don't think anyone up until this young man had said, let's use moral dilemma stories in the Chinese primary schools. Now, I did on the handout give you a reflection of a student. Let me back up. And here it's on her experience in this course. I've written a number of these. They're always, of course, very happy about their experience. And I did underline some of her key points just so we can focus on them. She always on the last day of class asks them to write this reflection. I love that second sentence. Frankly speaking, I have made a dramatic progress in this course. And then she goes on to point out this is very different from anything I've ever experienced in China. She's a law student, and this is the first time she's really done some serious research writing in English. You can read that paragraph where she summarizes why she feels it's been a whole new kind of experience for her. But the second point, I think, is a good one, too, because there's a very systematic process of writing which they work through, you know, finding the sources, drafting, revising, team discussion, oral presentation, final paper. There's a whole approach there that this student liked and was very happy about. And then she was also pleased that she was learning a standard writing format, such as AP style. She thought this was very important to her and for her future academic career. And then the fourth point was the teamwork. She never had the opportunity to really develop with other students and with the professor, lots of discussion, lots of back and forth. But the last, well, no, not the last point. The next point is the web-based experience. And there, of course, I love her sentence, it's an imaginary world, the web. And she sees it as a place that is that's pretty much it. I think we do have some time for discussion. In concluding, let me just say a couple things that I like about John Way's model. First of all, it is assessment, but the tasks are obviously vastly different from standardized testing, etc. Students are doing real tasks. This is something they have to learn how to do in their academic career, to use the internet, to do research in their major fields. The other thing is there's a very strong pedagogical orientation. At home, people often criticize standardized testing because it drives what goes on in the classroom so much. But the problem is teachers begin to teach to the test, and very simple model stuff goes on in the classroom. But here, students are learning to do a real task, and there's a lot of pedagogical support. They're set up to succeed on this task. And then the last point I'd just like to raise in concluding, already in China, John Way is making lots of connections with other universities. Last summer, the State Department paid for the two of us to go around to major universities in China and talk about this assessment model. And she's a very dynamic presenter, and I think is becoming something of a leader. The Chinese government is giving her a huge grant to publish about this. It's interesting to me, she has to write it in Chinese, even though it's about English education. The Chinese government wants her to write it in Chinese, and she's now getting a manuscript out about this model. But also, since I'm here in Japan, I thought I would just raise an idea that, you know, I've discussed a lot with John Way, and I think when Falco was there meeting her in Beijing last summer, we feel that there could be some strategic cooperation here in Asia. Because I know here, obviously, your students have to learn to use the internet to do research in their major field. And one of the ideas we've had, and I've mentioned to you the U.S. State Department pays for people like myself to go and do projects in other countries. And I've discussed with them maybe doing something where we would bring people like John Way, and maybe another very good Chinese doctoral student, over to Japan, and we would set up at some university an intensive summer institute where people could come. I would be involved as well, possibly Kathleen might be involved, and students would have a chance to learn about what's happening in China in English education at the university level. And then we would also do the opposite. We would bring Chinese teachers of English over to China, and again set up an institute there and have Chinese teachers of English at college, university level come and have an intensive experience. Now, obviously I don't have to tell you that I think these kinds of cultural exchanges are very important here in Asia. We were at a big forum last week, talked about the importance of educational exchange and peace building and intercultural communication here in Asia. And these kinds of things I think are terribly important, and something I'd love to hear your ideas if you feel it's something that you think you'd like to see happen. Also be giving ideas on how best to do it. We did this in Turkey one summer, and we left with a website there in Turkey where we kept communicating with the teachers, and I actually helped some of the teachers who had participated in our summer institute develop articles, research articles for academic journals using the website for ongoing communication. What I would like to see if we did this between Japan and China is a website where there would be ongoing communication between teachers of English here in Japan and teachers of English in China. And I can even envision maybe if the university here in Japan took the same approach that John Way took, that there would be a place where students who do research in certain areas, biochemistry, economics, whatever, you could have a website set up according to academic disciplines, and you would see the work that Japanese students were doing in that area and see the work that Chinese students are doing. They could have some direct